Friends, my name is Jesse and welcome back as always to Male Nurse Mentor. You've made it through first semester. You're now in the deepest part of these waters. Second semester, third semester. What are my tips? Let's talk about it. So the purpose behind this video here today, friends, is you are now in the thick of things. Being in the second and third semester, you're past the start, but you're not quite at the finish. You maybe see the horizon towards the end, but you can't even think about what it would feel like to be done with your program because you're just right in the middle now. I consider these to actually be the hardest semesters, so because of that, I just wanted to make a continuation video of, giving you tips from first semester, but now to give you tips as well from these thick of things semesters here in the second and third, maybe fourth if you have a 5-semester program, but still the same. So hopefully some of these tips that I give you are helpful. Looking back at my own journey, these are things that would have helped me. I tried my best to incorporate these, but I also think someone at that time, I wish someone would have made a video to tell me these things. So then I'd be aware of them and then I can try to incorporate them. So let's begin. So let's start with number 5, friends. And this is listen, accept, and ignore the first week. So do you remember back in first semester? Bam, information dump. They tell you all these dates, all this information, the sequence of how practicals would go and everything, right? They tell you everything all at once, just information dump. You're gonna feel it again. Unfortunately, every single first week of all these semesters in the nursing program are all gonna be this way. Second and third semester are no different. You're in the thick of things now, but every single time that you start a semester, they're gonna do this to you. And it's gonna make you feel the same exact way every single time. By my very last semester, that was when I was like, okay, they do this every time. Like, I feel this way, I'm not gonna feel this way this time. But let me tell you, friends, here in your second and third semester, they're gonna do the same exact thing. You're gonna feel the same exact way. Just be aware of it. This is a big tip for me here at number 5. Just prepare yourself. It's okay to feel lost. It's okay to feel unprepared. It's okay to feel stressed and anxious about all this information they're giving you, because the reality is that is what they're doing. They're giving you a ton of information. There's no way you can retain this. There's no way you can make notes of this. Just take what you can, jot down notes and dates that you kind of can catch and can remember. But just understand, if there's anything important, they will remind you of it. If not, maybe you have a classmate that actually remembers that piece that you didn't, and just kind of, speak to people. Keep an ear out. Eventually you'll kind of get the gist of what's coming up next. So just keep this in mind. This is my tip number 5. Just remember this. Be kind to yourself here. So what I have here at number 4, friends, is ride the wave mentality. Ride the wave in quotes. The main point to this is like the waves hitting the shore, right, on a beach. It just doesn't stop. These waves keep coming. You're the beach, you're the sand, these waves keep hitting you, right? This is ride the wave mentality. Sure, you can think of it like a surfboard out on the ocean and just wave after wave, but regardless, I just like to think of it as waves in general, right? This is what the second and third semester are gonna feel like. You kind of got a little bit of a taste of this in first semester. You're like, man, this workload is heavy. Well, just know, friends, it's gonna continue to be heavy. These second and third semesters are going to continue to feel this way. Like I even said, for me personally, I always felt these were actually the hardest semesters because you can't quite see the end in sight yet. There's gonna be a part of you that's gonna feel like, hey, maybe I can just hold my breath here and just kind of brace and maybe I'll make it through, right? One thing after the next. But because these waves, friends, keep coming, the workload keeps coming, I highly advise not holding your breath, not bracing, because this is a journey. This is 2 years, 2.5 years, and you won't be able to sustain that. You're gonna burn yourself out, and that can take a toll on your production in the program, the outcome of you in this program. It will take a toll. What I always say is, friends, there's like a certain level of acceptance that I'm in this now. It is tough. I have all this workload coming up at me, and you can't hold your breath. You just gotta breathe. You gotta breathe, it's gonna hurt, but just understand that it's just a wave and you ride it, and then when you're done, you get another wave. If this was a marathon, this is the point of no return, right? The only option is to quit. The only option is to make it through. Those are the only 2 you have. And because you've worked so hard to get into this program, you're not gonna quit. You can't do that. mentally you got to tell yourself you can't, right? Because you got this end goal that you want to get to. You want to be an RN, you want to be a nurse, you want to have that as your career. You're already in the program. Just make it through. This is why I say it's important to just breathe. You don't have to be that A student anymore. Just get the C's, get the B's. If you get A's, awesome. What you really got to focus on is making it through this program, finishing it, being able to pass that NCLEX, and getting your license. And sometimes it's okay to get that C, get that B, ride that wave, take it in stride, and just kind of be accepting of this moment here. Don't brace. Don't hold your breath. Don't push through. I don't recommend that. Ride the wave. That's what I gotta say. So for this next one, friends, my next tip here at tip number 3 is continue to connect with classmates. I always think this is an important one. For me, I wasn't super close, like really close with my classmates, but I was close enough to be helpful, right, to them and be able to take helpful tips from them, right? And this is kind of what you have to do with your cohort. These are the only people that will continue to understand you, right? You have family, you have friends on the outside. They only know what you tell them. These people here next to you in class, these are the people that understand you. If you haven't formed a group text yet, or a Facebook group or something like that, maybe you be the one to initiate it. For me, I waited for someone else and I joined into theirs. But regardless, having groups like that are helpful. Just bounce ideas off them for homework. Hey, how long did this take you? Oh, this is hard. You just vent in that group text. You help each other with tips. You ask questions. You have somebody there, right? So that way you don't always have to go to an instructor all the time, send them an email, wait days for a response. You have a group here. You have your peers. Work with them. Work for them. Help each other out. It could be for carpooling, right? A lot of different things. Homework assignments, quizzes, study groups. There's so much. But if you cultivate this, it will help you. It will work twofold. You help them, they help you. You guys are all in this together. Continue to cultivate that. That is one of my biggest tips here at number 3 for people in the nursing program. So here, friends, at number 2, my tip number 2, it is fight the urge of complacency. And I'm gonna be honest, friends, this is always a bad habit of people. It was a bad habit of mine, right? Just kind of going through the motions. You show up for clinicals, you show up for class, you're kind of halfway there, your mind is mentally occupied in something else. It happens to all of us. But you have 5 semesters, 4 semesters for some people of this. Now being in the thick of things here in the 2nd and 3rd semester, you're gonna start to feel, oh, I made it past 1st semester, I'm now in 2nd and 3rd semester. You're gonna want to feel a little complacent, right? The motivation has to come from within. And if it's not there all the time, you're gonna feel like you can cut corners and you're gonna feel like you can do other things with your time or push things off, right? But the reality is, friends, one thing I always remember about nursing school is if you're not ahead, you're behind. And one thing you gotta understand, for example, when you start doing clinicals, right, in your 2nd and 3rd semester, clinicals become more hour heavy. This is like a part-time job. So let's say you go to clinicals and you're out of clinicals and now you have all this stuff you have to catch up on, right? Because you didn't get ahead. Now it's gonna feel even worse, right? That's what we call procrastination, right? Pushing things off for the last moment. Well, if you just got off of clinicals, the last thing you wanna do is study for a quiz, work on a paper, do homework assignments. You may have to, right? Just a little bit. But can you imagine if you had to do it all the night before? You just had clinicals and that night before a big old test, some homework is due, you have to knock this out. You're just adding stress and anxiety to your plate, which doesn't have to be there. And you also have to understand, because clinicals are like a part-time job, right? Because you go to different ones, the last thing you want to do when you get off is do homework because you're mentally and physically taxed for doing that. You go to clinicals and it's all new stuff. It's all a bunch of hours of just feeling uncomfortable, learning, being challenged. The last thing you want to do is do homework. The one thing you want to do when you get out is just go eat ice cream, go buy some Taco Bell, cocoon somewhere, close off to the world, right? So my biggest tip here, friends, is just fighting the urge of complacency. Fight the urge to cut corners. Fight the urge of just going through the motions. Try your best to get ahead and stay ahead throughout the program. Whenever you get a quiz coming up, try to study as soon as you can. Even if you don't study for the whole thing all at once, break it down into pieces. Same thing with homework assignments. Break it down into pieces. When you get the assignment and the due date, start. Break it down day by day, do a little bit here, so on and so forth. Because if you procrastinate in nursing school, I'll tell you, friends, you're gonna hate your life. You can't procrastinate in nursing school because you got a part-time job, which are those clinical hours you gotta do. You're not gonna love yourself very much. You're gonna be pretty mean to yourself when you got all this due the night before and you just got off clinicals. I know the feeling. I didn't like it. It happened from time to time. But let me tell you, as a tip, fight that urge of complacency. Fight the urge to procrastinate. Remember, if you're not ahead in nursing school, you're behind. Because just when you thought you were full of work assignments, right, you're gonna get more, and you're gonna get more. Remember what they did at the beginning of the semester. They gave you all this information, all these dates. Well, it's coming to reality. Oh, next week this is due. You're in that week. Oh, next week this is due. Oh wait, actually this is also due this week. So just keep that in mind. That's my tip number 2. So friends, this one is tip number 1. It is leverage the fact that you're new. Leverage the fact that you're new. You're a newbie. This is good. I'm gonna tell you why. For me, friends, one thing that I wish I could have gone back in time and done is this, is leverage the fact that I was new. One thing you're gonna begin to realize, right, once you finish first semester and you start going into your second and third semester, later on your fourth and fifth, is each semester that goes by, the expectation of you as a future nurse, as a nursing student, is going to increase. So what I mean by this is that question that you didn't ask in first semester, they're now going to expect you to know in second, and then they're going to expect you to now know in third. And by the time you get to fifth semester, fourth semester, now they're going to expect you to know this. So if you don't continue to leverage the fact that you're new in each semester that goes by and not ask those questions, it's going to feel even worse to ask those questions in the future semesters down in the program. So also with this, and I know there's no dumb questions, friends, but there are questions that make us feel dumb, right? I felt this way. So as my semesters were going through, I didn't leverage the fact of being new, and there's questions that as a newbie are so acceptable to ask, and I didn't ask them. And as each semester went through, I continued to not ask them. And I got to the point where I was like, man, now I'm embarrassed to ask this. And I know that's kind of a me problem, but I feel like some people can relate to being this way. It's like, we know there are no dumb questions, but there are questions when we ask them, we do feel dumb, right? Personal problem. But just leverage the fact that you're new, ask those new questions in real time. When you think of them, ask them. Leverage the fact that you can shadow people, leverage the fact that you don't know. In nursing school, each semester that goes by, your expectation will increase. So just continue to leverage that you're new as you go through the program, because it only gets worse when you're done with your program and you're in the workforce. Now imagine those questions you didn't ask in nursing school, those questions you thought were done back then. And now you're actually in the workforce and you're getting paid to do this. And now you're asking them at that point. No, you're not even gonna ask them at that point, because you'll be even more embarrassed by the workforce and trying to ask those first semester nursing school questions in the workforce. I'm just letting you know, this was a common thing that I felt. Maybe some of you guys can relate to this who have finished your program. Maybe some of you guys can relate to this currently in your program. But that is my number 1 tip, friends. Leverage the fact that you're new. All right, friends, those are 5 tips from me, from my experience, and what I think would be helpful going into your second and third semester now of your nursing program. You're in the thick of things. You're right in the middle. Hopefully some of these are helpful. Hopefully some of these just spark an idea of something to be helpful for you. All I want to do is just continue to add value for you. And I do just want to take notice. Our group here continues to grow. There's more subscribers joining the journey here on Male Nurse Mentor. And I think that's really awesome to see. Hopefully I just can continue to add value for you guys. And I'll always be here. If you have any questions, you can find me on the DMs on Instagram. You can comment down below. I comment back to everybody. But as always, friends, I'll be here. I'm around. You know where to find me. I'll see you guys on the next one.